They bring hope. They stand for peace, safety, stability, and protection. Like here in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country that has been at war for decades.
Yes, I thought they'd bring peace, but I didn't find this peace.
Women in the Congo raise accusations. Again, they are being violated, this time by those who came to protect them. United Nations peacekeepers.
They took us to a small house nearby. They tore our clothes off. Then they raped me and my friend. I was still a virgin. They raped me and later I got a severe infection.
Peacekeepers as offenders. Offenders who often aren't brought to justice.
They rape our women, 18, 17, or even only 16 years old. Underage girls. They make them pregnant, and then they run away.
We fly over a country ruined by war. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, rebel groups have been fighting the official army for decades. A struggle for power and raw materials. 20,000 UN peacekeepers are here to protect the civilians. The largest peacekeeping mission in the world. But we have heard that again and again, UN peacekeepers sexually assault civilians. How can this be? How can helpers become offenders? We're heading to Goma, the capital of North Kivu province. Here, in the notorious east of the Congo, we start our research. After 20 years of war, the people are fighting for bare survival. 2 million people are internally displaced. As soon as we turn off the main road, we witness the suffering of the people. Mugunga 3, a camp 30 minutes drive away from Goma. More than 10,000 refugees live here. We know that in the Congo, sexual violence has been used as a brutal weapon of war for decades. The sign at the camp's entrance warns about it. We've been told about violence by UN peacekeepers in this camp. But we don't see any UN peacekeepers around. Once we unpack our camera, we are immediately surrounded by children. Many of them are orphans. Their parents were brutally murdered before their eyes. We meet Claude Bicolera. He's been a refugee for 10 years. He came to this camp 4 years ago. He acts as a spokesperson for the refugees. He talks to the authorities, listens to refugees' problems, and tries to give them hope. Claude suffers from bone tuberculosis. He suggests going to a small hill to talk in private. We ask him about the most pressing problems in the camp and about the perpetrators of the sexual violence we've been told about.
We have many problems here. Often there isn't enough food. Sometimes it takes 3, 4, or 5 months before we get supplies. The newcomers who arrive here come with nothing. No clothes, they have nothing. But the worst thing is that they had to endure terrible atrocities. Many of them were raped by rebels. And there are many rape cases here too. in and outside the camp.
Claude says that both government soldiers and rebels sexually assault the women in the camp. But is it really only army soldiers and rebels that do this? We want to talk to the women ourselves. Claude arranges some meetings. There are many women in the camp who were raped and afterwards abandoned by their own husbands. Veronique speaks to journalists for the first time in her life. She's ashamed to show her face.
We were collecting firewood outside the camp when we met a group of 12 rebels. They pushed us into a hole they had dug out before. In there, they raped us the whole day. They showed no mercy. They didn't care that there were children and older women among us.
Suzanne is 16 years old. She lives in the camp with 3 younger siblings. Her father is dead, and her mother went missing. Together with 120 other refugees, she sleeps on the floor of one of these huts. Right here, a man approached her 2 weeks ago.
It was 6 o'clock when a few men came into the camp. I thought they lived here too. One of them came up to me and asked me a few questions. I told them that I lived here alone with my brothers and sisters. He gave me a little money so I could buy some food. I left the camp to buy some bread. I was happy and thought that God had been good to us. But the men followed me and asked for their money back. Then they dragged me into the woods. 4 government soldiers were waiting there. They raped me for hours.
Only 2 of more than 60 rape cases that occurred here in the last few months alone. Even children are among them. Brutal rapes, hunger, constant fear, part of everyday life in this camp. But what about the peacekeepers who are supposed to protect these people? We haven't seen any so far. Where are they? We find them positioned along the main roads. They are busy protecting the important supply lines. They live in separate camps. Most of them are soldiers from India, Pakistan, South Africa, or Uruguay. We notice that many refugees are settling close to the United Nations bases. Here they hope to be protected from rebel attacks, protected by UN peacekeepers. The UN hire their soldiers from their member states, a lucrative business for cash-strapped countries like India, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And the soldiers too stand to gain from the time they spend on UN missions, because the UN pay more than their national armies. We want to know whether there have been cases of sexual assaults by peacekeepers close to UN camps. A Congolese reporter helps us out. We can't show his face. Asking too many critical questions could be dangerous in the Congo. He meets Chigala Muimule, refugee spokesperson in Uvira. He tells our colleague what he wouldn't tell foreigners.
We know that they are peacekeepers. They are supposed to bring peace and quiet and protect people and their property. Of course, they're only human and have their needs. But does that give them the right to rape our women?
A grave accusation. Our colleague tries to find out more. He doesn't have to go far to find women who claim to have been raped by UN soldiers. but only few of them want to talk openly. Esperance was 15 when she sought refuge near a UN camp.
The UN soldier simply forced me.
So what happened?
First he raped me and then he gave me gifts. He said he loved me, but I was scared and didn't want to have sex with him again. Then he asked some boys to look for me. He made me pregnant, and then I never saw him again.
Where is he today?
He's in Pakistan.
He went back to Pakistan.
Yes,
How do you know?
he went back. They ordered him back. He went and I was pregnant.
Do you know where he is exactly?
No, I only know that he went back home, but I don't know where that is exactly.
That was 2 years ago. Esperance has to bring up her daughter without any support. This is the first time anybody has shown any interest in her story. The skin color of the children is a telltale sign. They stick out, and everybody around here knows who they are. Kevin lives in a small settlement right next to a UN peacekeepers camp. His father too was a UN soldier who allegedly raped his mother.
He offered me biscuits, 3 biscuits. He called me over and gave them to me. But that was just a trick to get me close to him. Then he raped me.
And have you seen him since the rape?
No, I never saw him again. Because after that incident, I was ill for a long time and needed treatment. After that, I went looking for him, and eventually they told me he'd gone back to Uruguay. His mandate finished in 2005. That's what they told me. He went back. I know he left when I was 7 months pregnant. At first, I searched for him for 3 months without any success. His comrades told me he went to Bunia. Then they told me he went to Bukavu, Butembo, Kalemi, and so on. But I didn't give up looking for him until I was 7 months pregnant. Then I said, okay, I thanked God and laid everything in his hands. The birth was easy. I thanked God for that.
You said you were 17 when you were raped.
Yes, 17.
Why didn't you go to court to indict this man?
I was afraid. I was so young and inexperienced. I wouldn't have been able to go to court and tell everybody that I'd been raped. At first, I didn't even tell people at home. I simply said I'm pregnant. That was all.
During their missions, UN peacekeepers are granted immunity. This protects them from legal prosecution in the country they are stationed in. Now that Joari's rapist has returned to his home country, the only way to bring him to justice is to prosecute him there. None of the rape victims we've been talking to are even considering this option. We drive back to Goma, the provincial capital, to talk to the UN about these rape cases. Goma, the biggest trade center of the region and base for the big aid organizations. 500,000 people live here. The UN too have their headquarters here for their peacekeeping mission in eastern Congo. Codename MONUSCO. They even have a separate department for the investigation of sexual assaults. Any act of sexual exploitation is strictly forbidden. All employees have to follow a strict code of conduct. We are told that the topic is taken very seriously. But nobody wants to talk openly about it in front of our camera. Several weeks later, we've been following various leads, and insiders have told us about sexual assaults not only by peacekeepers, but also by high-ranking UN officials. But nobody wants to talk about this in front of our camera. Some people fear for their jobs. Others don't want to damage the UN's reputation. Finally, after months of research, we meet a former UN employee who is willing to talk. Until recently, he was working in an executive position.
It seems to be in the nature of people that they try to take advantage of people who are in a vulnerable situation. As long as the UN exists, SEA was existing. It came only up to that serious end of nowadays because of what was leaked in 2004, 2005, and all the severe measurements. The program is called SEA, that means Sexual Abuse and Exploitation and Abuse Program, and it's about the new code of conduct. That means every staffer has to sign by signing the contract to work in a UN peacekeeping mission. You have to sign also the document that you are informed about the code of conduct within the UN, about the rules you have to obey. Then, when you enter the peacekeeping mission, you have to pass through an induction program. Within the induction program, it's mandatory to attend the SEA, the Sexual Exploitation and Abuse Program, which will go on for 2 hours.
Now an investigation that is sure to send shockwaves around the world. This is a story of betrayal and abuse of men.
We managed to obtain a UN training video. In 2005, the UN had to deal with press reports of sexual assaults by peacekeepers in the Congo.
It was due to the public that the SEA measurements were increased. So, of course, the role of the media. You see, in any disaster and crisis situation, the media is so important. Only due to the media, things are coming to the public and donations are coming in. So the same, if there are cases of misbehavior only because of the media reporting about it, it will be discussed, there will be change. Of course, it's first of all painful. For the UN, it's very painful if this is coming to the light. And the UN would do everything to avoid that it's coming out. And of course, many measurements are only to please the public and to show, no, we are really the peacekeepers. We are serving with pride.
Public pressure forced the UN to react.
That trust must never be jeopardized by despicable acts like sexual exploitation and abuse. The United Nations has zero tolerance for such behavior. It is our collective responsibility to uphold the highest standards and protect all those we serve.
To serve with pride. This video is used to train all UN employees before they go on their missions.
That's mandatory as well. It's a 20 minutes video. There are a couple of well-known people, UN staffers from the top, who are talking in that video. It's a very emotional video, and it really touches the staff. But nevertheless, despite this, we have people who run through this tough training and still they do SEA.
Apparently, the UN takes cases of sexual exploitation and abuse very seriously. UN guidelines strictly prohibit any abuse of power against helpless victims.
Officially, it's told that the quota of SEA cases are reduced very tremendously. I think it's not the case. Now, I know personally cases where somebody produced a couple of UN babies in the country, and a staffer in a high position, but he's a charming guy. Whenever there was an investigation, he charmed this investigation off. Or when there was in the night, he was found in a delicate situation, he could pay it off with charm or even with a bit of money. So it's still happening. There are many cases who are not yet under investigation.
The UN's official statistics show a very different picture. Reports claim that in the Congo, the numbers of sexual exploitation and abuse investigations have dropped from 69 cases in 2007 to only 15 in 2012. But how many cases go unreported if the victims don't press charges? We continue to investigate. Just a few kilometers away from Goma Airport, an idyllic spot. A big United Nations camp with South African peacekeepers. A seemingly safe and tranquil place. But when we drive by the camp, we experience hostilities. Camera teams are not welcome here. This hasn't happened to us before. We want to find out why that is. The following morning, we equip our reporter with a hidden camera. Some peacekeepers have a day off. They head for a small market nearby. Then this happens. The peacekeeper in the background gives a woman some money, but doesn't buy anything. With his hidden camera, our reporter follows the women to a small village, only a few meters away from the market. Many refugees live here in makeshift huts without any water or electricity. Our reporter notices that in one of the huts there are several women. They wear bright makeup and tight jeans. And they're afraid to talk.
Okay.
A neighbor nearby can tell us more about the women.
The women with the makeup, are they from here?
No, they sell their bodies. This is why they're here.
Prostitutes?
Yes, prostitutes. The soldiers used to come here directly, but now the commander is very strict. Now they've found another way.
This young man tells us how the business is organized. The women are here for the peacekeepers, he says. Apparently, they earn between $150 and $300 per month. Teenage boys organize the contact between the soldiers and the women. They wait at the camp's entrance. The soldiers tell them the time when they want to see the prostitutes, and the boys go and tell the women. Our hidden camera captures what is happening. This is one of the women from the village. She's waiting. The messenger quickly talks to the soldiers and then goes to meet her. 6 p.m., he tells the woman. The meeting takes place after the market is closed, when it's dark. Well-organized prostitution right next to a United Nations camp. This contravenes all UN guidelines.
Absolutely forbidden is any relationship, any sexual contact with a person where you're paying for the sexual service. That means no prostitutes. When you are found with a prostitute, that's obvious that next day you will be in the plane back home.
For many UN employees who've been working in the Congo for years, these moral standards aren't valid anymore. The Congo changes people, says a UN employee who's been working here for more than 6 years.
In the conflict zones of Africa where we work, there are no prostitutes because everyone feels justified, and probably so, in surviving. It is not an option, it is not a lifestyle. For many women that have no education, recently traumatized, trying to survive in a country with no infrastructure, no facilities, no employment. You have newly created poverty because of the recent conflict, which is the direct reason why we're there. But then you also have the systemic, endemic poverty. So you have a culture of poverty, which means that people hustle to survive at all levels. And therefore, the morality coming from that means that almost everything is acceptable.
He also tells us that many UN employees feel lost out here, far away from their families.
When you put that in a situation and you meet with the specific colors of need coming from poverty, there is a meshing that has many different strands. A lot of it will always be mutually self-beneficial, mutually beneficial. What is the right thing to do morally, despite the UN rules? And how do you function as a human being under these non-Hollywood specified, narratives?
Here in the Congo, there is an open form of prostitution in bars and nightclubs, just like anywhere else in the world. But there also exists another, much less obvious form of sexual exploitation. It happens here, in the more affluent areas. This is where those people live who stand to gain from war: arms dealers, business people, and high-ranking UN officials. Here too we can find sexual exploitation, discreet behind high walls.
Very common SEA case is that you have a villa in a remote place, and very often there are cases of SEA concerning the housekeepers, the female housekeepers. It's really with a certain force, because the ladies are depending on this, and they are really told, at least what the investigations were bringing out, if you do not agree to share also my bed, I will look for another housekeeper.
We leave Goma to travel across Lake Kivu to Bukavu. Here in this poor neighborhood, we meet Etcha. She used to work as a housekeeper for a high-ranking UN officer. Her daughter, Giovanna, is lighter-skinned than her playmates. Do you know where the father of your child was from and what his job was?
He worked for the UN peacekeeping mission as a lieutenant colonel.
What nationality?
He's Romanian.
What exactly happened? How did you get pregnant?
I worked for Giovanna's dad as a housekeeper. He wanted to sleep with me, but I didn't want to. Then he put pressure on me and caused problems at work. Finally, I gave in. Later, he went back to his home country and simply left me. I was pregnant. He knew that, but he just left. After Giovanna was born, I tried to find her dad. I went to the UN camp at Kalemi. They scanned photos of the baby, and I wrote him a letter. I never got an answer. When Giovanna grew up, I made another photo, scanned it, and sent him another email. It went through, but he didn't answer.
Which address did you send the pictures to?
I sent it to the email address that he gave me when he left me. I wrote him a message and sent him a photo. It all went through, but he simply didn't write back. When Giovanna started walking, my mother came over from Tanzania and said I should start a career. So I went to Bukavu and began studying international relations. But my life was in turmoil and I didn't finish my studies. So now I live here and look after my child.
Life is hard for the young mother without work and financial support. Every now and then she finds some work, but this hardly covers the rent. Giovanna is often sick, but Esha doesn't have money for the medicine. She even had to sell her furniture. These chairs were given to her by her neighbors.
I'm on my own when my child is sick. When I take her to the doctor, they tell me that I should go to another hospital. Often the doctor says that he doesn't want to treat her. Then they tell me to go to Bujumbura. The doctor says this is a white child that needs special doctors. But I don't have the money to go there. And I don't understand why she needs special treatment. I've already sold everything I have to pay the doctors for treating my child. She is sick very often. What kind of a life is that? Selling everything just so I can pay a doctor.
A few weeks after our last visit to Goma, rebel troops seized the city. Again, more than 100,000 people flee the city. The rebels march through Goma while UN peacekeepers are looking on. The United Nations peacekeepers don't interfere. They haven't got an official mandate. Tens of thousands flee across the border into neighboring Uganda. We follow the refugees. We want to see if they are safer here than in the Congo. "100,000 Congolese refugees have come here in recent years. The UN High Command for Refugees has rented large areas of land. The idea is for refugees to be self-sufficient. They farm bananas, corn and rice, and live in simple adobe huts, just like most of the locals. No huge refugee camps like in the Congo, but small settlements. Chaka 2 is such a model settlement, financed by the UN and run by Ugandan authorities. Unlike in the Congo, we are free to move around as we please. People have space here, and the land is fertile. To us, it looks like paradise. Social workers frequently visit the settlement. They look after those who became victims of sexual violence in the Congo. Their spokesperson is Chris Dolan.
I think we can safely say that 50% of the women refugees from Congo have had an experience of sexual violence. It does tell you something about why they have become refugees, because undoubtedly the experience of sexual violence is one of the what migration people talk about as a push factor. Definitely one of the things that has made them decide to seek asylum outside their own country.
Chaka 2 could serve as a model for housing refugees in the long term. Many of them will live here for decades, will be born here and die here. But are the living conditions here really as paradise-like as they seem at first sight? We talk to children who have lost their parents in the war.
I would love to go to school like the other children, but the teacher sends me away because I can't give him any money. But I don't have anybody who can pay my school fees. I'm all alone here.
There are many problems with the education system here. The classes are overcrowded and the teachers are underpaid. Often the teachers have special tasks for their pupils.
The teacher has sent us here to work in the fields. During school time, we're missing class. We have to work here for 2 hours and then give the crop to the teacher. He then goes and sells it on the market.
The model settlement's image is tainted. And we are told that here too, sexual violence is a problem. Often the offenders are fellow refugees or Ugandan soldiers from a nearby army base. Some women tell us that they feel unsafe, especially at night. 3 policemen are in charge of 16,000 refugees. They have to cover 80 square kilometers, but very often they don't even have enough fuel to drive to the crime scene. This woman says that her daughter was raped while fetching water. She was only 14 years old. The police only came the next day and took her to hospital. There, the nurses only shrugged their shoulders and said that the girl hadn't been a virgin anyway. That was the end of the matter.
And in many respects, I think refugee camps are emblematic of the vulnerabilities to which refugees continue to be exposed. And you're looking here at camps which are often, they're kind of outside the purview of normal society. There are very few police, there's very difficult access, they're physically difficult to get to. Human rights activists have a hard time getting authorization to go and visit. So they're really places which are apart from the rest of society. And in those camps, as a refugee, you're entirely dependent on a whole range of different people, whether they be aid workers, whether they be UN officials, whether they be camp officials placed there by the government. You're dependent on those people, whether for all sorts of things, for shelter, for food, for access to medical care, access to education, even for permission to move outside the camp on many occasions. And so in those kind of situations, the pressures and the opportunities for sexual exploitation are very, very high.
Many women prefer to remain silent. They are afraid to talk about what has happened to them. Finally, we are told a refugee's name, somebody who is trying to help these women. We're told to meet him in the capital. Kampala, 3 million inhabitants, 40,000 of them refugees, most of them from the Congo. This is where Ezekias lives. He had to move from Chaka 2 to a poor neighborhood in Kampala because he felt threatened in the settlement. He raised awareness of sexual violence and mentioned names to the authorities. Then somebody burned down his hut. He feared for his life. He moved here to protect his wife and children. Now they live in a space of 4 square meters. 12 families share 1 toilet. Still, he feels safer here and free from the repression by officials in the settlement.
Parfois, si tu demandes votre droit avant de vous donner votre droit, on vous impose une condition. Tu dois faire sexe avec cette autorité.
Sometimes, when you only ask for some basic necessities, then you have to offer sex in return. There are widows, children, girls under 18, and little boys who are forced to offer their bodies. They have to risk their lives for some food in return.
Pour trouver quelque chose à manger.
Ezekias did not want to accept that. He wrote to Ugandan authorities and the UN, but he never got an answer.
Si tu dénonces la cause,
if you report this abuse of girls and women, if you talk about the oppression of the victims, then the authorities put pressure on you. Who are you? Who are you to talk about human rights and act as a spokesperson?
Qui es-tu pour revendiquer ces droits des gens et que tu parles?
Ezekias is actively involved in the church. Here he often meets other Congolese refugees who've also fled from Chaka 2 and other settlements to live here.
Has the UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, supported you?
They have only helped me with the papers. Apart from that, I haven't received any other help, not even for the children. Life is very hard for us. Sometimes I even have to work as a prostitute to feed the family. Life in the refugee camp was a disaster. When you asked the authorities for help, you never got anything. And some of the officials asked for sex before they would help you. I decided to leave the camp and try to live here in Kampala. But that isn't working either. There are too many problems. The children can't go to school because I asked for support for my little sister. When I did that, they asked me to send her to the office alone. When she went there, the person in the office asked her to sleep with them. Only then they would help us. I couldn't believe it. The same thing again? It was like that in the Congo, and it's the same here.
Saidi, Paula's mother, tells a similar story. Her daughter too was told to come to school alone to see the headmaster.
When they there at school, there was a man who wanted to rape me. Then my mom went there to the people there, the eunuchs here. They said that there was just deceiving. They didn't take it as serious case. Now I'm just home. I'm not doing anything. I'm just like that home. And my brothers, they are just wandering just there. No one is going to school. Yeah, that's the big problem which I have, that one of school. If I have school, even if I don't eat, that's enough. Yeah.
So they ended up in the slums. They fled to another country, but couldn't escape the downward spiral of sexual violence, displacement, and more sexual violence. Even the children are victims. There seems to be no escape. The only solution for refugees is trying to eliminate the reasons for their displacement. For as long as there is no peace in the Congo, sexual abuse and exploitation will continue, including assaults committed by peacekeepers. The UN peacekeeping mission in the Congo started in 1999, and there is still no end to the hostilities. But there is something the UN could do right now: take care of the most vulnerable victims of the human rights violations committed by its employees. Take care of the children.
My message to the UN: if you send soldiers here, let them bring peace to our country. You make the rules. You have the power to bring peace. Instead, you are the ones causing problems and destroying our lives.
Jigali Muimuli, the refugee spokesperson we met in Uvira, knows what he's talking about. He fosters 6-year-old Mariam, the daughter of a cousin. Mariam is able to go to primary school thanks to Jigali's help. Mariam's mother can't afford the school fees. She's poor and begs for money in the streets. Mariam's father is a UN soldier from Uruguay. He simply abandoned his daughter and her underage mother. With this photo of the couple, Jigali went to see UN authorities.
He's a UN peacekeeper, so I went to see the UN. But there are so many offices, and they are so bureaucratic, so I gave up. God will show us the way. I didn't get very far, and I don't know anybody who can help us. Maybe you can contact Mariam's father, so he finds out about his child. These children are suffering. They've got emotional problems. They think about who their dads could be. They see that they look different from the other kids. But if they met their dads, they could see the similarities, and that might give their lives a different perspective. This is why I ask Ban Ki-moon to make sure to expose the soldiers who made our women pregnant. In our culture, you have to marry a woman when you make her pregnant. When you make a woman pregnant, you have to look after the child.
But what about Giovanna and her mother? They have nobody who supports them.
I would do anything for my daughter, When I get some money, I make sure that we eat. If not, then we go to bed hungry. When I have €2 to spare per month, I pay the school fees. If not, they send Giovanna back home. When I have any spare money, I immediately take her to school.
Kevin knows that his mum was hurt and that his dad has disappeared. He thinks of him a lot, with a mixture of anger and longing.
Kevin tells me every day that we should go and see his dad. He tells me that if his dad was here, he would hit him. Because of him, Kevin and his mum are suffering here in the Congo. He wants us all to go to Uruguay, you see? Once he's finished school, Kevin wants to run to the airport at Bujumbura and fly away to see his dad. He keeps saying, "Mom, I don't want to stay here. I want to go and see my dad. I know my dad is a white man. You are black, and my dad is white."